Well, Ifugao culture is vast if you think of it academically. But I think the foundation of Ifugao culture is on the values, community values, how a person would think, not for himself, but for the community. Because by nature, we're supposed to be communalists. Think about the community first before acting. Would it be good for the community? So yeah, basically we start with the values, and then we go on into other aspects of our culture, like the conservation of material culture is totally different from how you are going to strengthen um, values. These are intangible things. Belief systems, for instance, is not something that we're keen on, like bringing back. A lot of us are already Christians, Catholics mainly, and but understanding the old belief system, the old Ifugao religion, doesn't mean going back to the practices of the old religion. It's like if you learn about Buddhism, if you learn about Islam, it doesn't mean necessarily that you become a Muslim or you become a Buddhist. But understanding it, because it's the way of life, that's the belief system of your ancestors, is very important in moving forward, and in bringing together all these aspects of Ifugao culture. So it's vast, but being able to, like, imbibe the values of our, well, we have a word for these values. We call it togon. Literally, it would mean like words of wisdom from the ancestors. So it has something to do about family life, about relationships, about society in general, but also your personal relationship with other people. Um, so yeah, the foundation of our culture is on our values and how we believe um, we are a distinct culture. We're not saying, at some point in our growth as a people, there's been a lot of, like, intersections in the development of our society. When we were, like, coming up with a strong Ifugao identity, here comes the organization of a Philippine Republic, and then we're supposed to be Filipinos. It was a very long process. Indigenous peoples in this country are a bit different, at least culturally, from the dominant cultures. The dominant Filipino culture is Hispanized, um, and we're not that. But somehow, the educational system, the government presumes that we are that. So there's this process of assimilation that's going on, forced assimilation of indigenous peoples, even with the Ifugaos. So much so that we are slowly losing our Ifugao identity and becoming more and more Filipino. Our organization believes that to become good Filipinos, we have to first acknowledge our being Ifugaos, because that's our roots, that's our culture. So, in the process of nation building, in the process of becoming, like, good contributors to nation building, first we have to address this crisis. Actually, um, I don't call it identity crisis, but it's something like that. Our loyalty to who we are as a culture. We've always been taught that um, this country is a one nation state, that everyone's Filipino and everyone's supposed to go through, like, a standard form of education, so that assimilates minority cultures into one. So that's the problem here, because our national government somehow is not um, uh, it's not enhancing or helping the continuity of minority cultures. So it's an assimilationist policy. It started with at least in the Cordilleras, it started during the American period, because that's the only way they would be able to conquer the these fierce mountain people is to educate them from, you know, molding them into becoming better Filipinos. And in the process, these indigenous peoples are losing their identity, their own distinct cultures. As our elders would keep saying, the rainbow won't be as beautiful if it was only one color. So that's what we want the dominant culture to understand, that we are distinct. We have our own color to contribute in the rainbow of Filipino nationhood.